When we talk about sports nutrition, we're going to talk about how does your body choose which fuel source it's going to use during any given activity state. So whether we're sitting still, standing up, walking, running, or in a full sprint. What are the ways that those different activities determine how our body chooses a certain fuel? When we're in an anaerobic state, meaning oxygen is not available to the tissues, the energy sources that your body reaches for are first ATP stores, which is a real teeny tiny amount, but we do have some created ATP stores available. Next up would be creatine phosphate. The third choice would be anaerobic glycolysis. Let's talk about these a little bit further. In an anaerobic state, the benefit of some of these anaerobic pathways for energy is that the energy is quickly accessible. So, for instance, the ATP I talked about, we only have a 2 to 4 second supply. That's how tiny the amount is. But it's a small supply to give a little energy to that muscle. Creatine phosphate, or sometimes called phosphocreatine, the P in the parentheses stands for phosphate and the CR stands for creatine. It's synthesized by our muscles during rest. This is a source of energy that provides instant activation to the muscle. So in the instance that you're sitting still and all of a sudden you have to jump up and sprint over to save your child from falling, phosphocreatine is the energy that will activate that muscle in that first 20 to 30 seconds that you're moving. You see that that's the transfer of the phosphate group that actually releases energy. So in the equation below you see that there's phosphocreatine plus something called ADP, which stands for adenosine diphosphate, di standing for 2 phosphates. So it's adenosine plus 2 phosphates. And then what happens in that reaction when we sprint, we move that phosphate. The bond of the phosphate and the creatine is broken, and when that bond is broken, energy is released. But the phosphate is not wasted. It gets reattached to the ADP, creating something called ATP, which stands for adenosine triphosphate. So now there's 3 phosphates on that adenosine group. Another benefit with this type of energy source is we can replenish those stores after 2 or 3 minutes. So once we did that sprint, our muscles have the ability to regenerate phosphocreatine for the next time that we need to instantly activate our muscles. A third source of energy in an anaerobic state, and this is for a slightly more prolonged period of time that we can produce some energy, is called anaerobic glycolysis. And you'll see that CHO is at the top here. That stands for carbohydrate. That's the substrate that we're breaking down. So we take something like glucose and it goes into a pathway called anaerobic glycolysis, meaning no oxygen available, and we're going to break that glucose down. So we can either get that glucose from food, or we can get it from our glycogen stores, which are in our muscle or in our liver. Glycogen, remember, is just branched chains of glucose all bound together for storage in our body. So that glycogen could be broken down. We clip off little glucose units and send that into the bloodstream, and it enters into anaerobic glycolysis at the cell level. It then gets converted to something called pyruvate, and in an anaerobic state, when oxygen's not available, it gets shunted off and we make lactic acid. It's thought that lactic acid buildup may be the cause of muscle fatigue. So this is one of the disadvantages of being in an anaerobic state when we're working out. Again, anaerobic states usually come about when we're doing that all-out burst of energy, something like a sprint or a race. Those are the types of situations where we're using maximum energy. And we can sustain energy from 10 seconds to 2 minutes in this anaerobic pathway. But you'll notice when you get into that anaerobic state, you can only sustain it so long, and that's partly because of that availability of energy. We can only produce the energy for a certain amount of time, and then your body will kind of hit a wall. So the advantages again would be that it's quick. The disadvantages, we don't get long-term ATP supplied. We only get 5% efficiency of breaking down that glucose. When we break down a glucose molecule, we have the potential to get, as you see in parentheses there, 36 to 38 ATPs for every glucose molecule. In anaerobic glycolysis, we only produce 2 ATP. So there's quite a big difference there in the potential energy and what we actually get out of it in an anaerobic state. Lastly, that lactic acid buildup would be a disadvantage. Now, on the other hand, if we maintain ourselves in an aerobic state when we're working out, the aerobic energy sources or pathways that our body would go through to get energy would be aerobic glycolysis, fatty acid breakdown, which would be called beta oxidation, and lastly, we would use a small amount of protein when we're in an aerobic state. This isn't something our body depends on necessarily for energy, but there is a small contribution of protein for the production of energy. So when we're in an anaerobic state, let's talk about anaerobic glycolysis. So we have that same glucose that was available when we're in an aerobic state. The same glucose that was available when we were in an anaerobic state. Now, let's get some oxygen available. We're aerobic. How is that broken down? Well, in the same manner. We might get, again, that glucose could come from food or from our glycogen stores. It goes into the bloodstream, into the cell, and at the cell level, it's broken down in this glycolysis pathway to pyruvate. But when there's oxygen available, it continues on to make something called acetyl-CoA and enters into a cycle called the Krebs cycle. You may have heard this cycle before in an anatomy and physiology class or other nursing classes. Other names for this cycle are TCA cycle, the citric acid cycle. These are all the same thing. They're all in the same cycle that produces energy. It's our major metabolic pathway. The advantage of having aerobic glycolysis going on is the energy efficiency is maximized. We get 95% of the potential energy from that glucose when it enters into the glycolysis pathway for metabolism and is able to enter the Krebs cycle. We also can have long-term energy from 2 minutes to 5 hours. That's a remarkable difference from aerobic to anaerobic. Now, the disadvantage of aerobic glycolysis is that it's slower to providing energy than in an anaerobic state. The second source of energy would be fatty acids, and this is usually when people are working out, they want to be breaking down the fat stores. That's their goal many times. Also, for an endurance athlete that wants to prolong those glycogen stores as long as possible, it's also beneficial to them if they can maximize the use of the fatty acids for energy so that then they have more glucose available to allow them to endure a long-term event. Beta oxidation takes place in the mitochondria. If you remember the cell structure, that's the powerhouse of the cell. Take a look in your book if you're unsure about that structure. Fatty acid fragments. Now, when we talked about fatty acids, if you can remember, it was a long chain of carbons. Kind of similar to what a glucose molecule is, but a glucose molecule has 6 carbons. A fatty acid fragment can have up to 18 carbons. So it has a lot more energy potential. When we break down and clip off those little carbon fragments, each of those goes into a pathway where they're able to become acetyl-CoA and enter the Krebs cycle, every 2 carbon unit. Fatty acids, as I mentioned down below, can make up to 147 ATP as compared to glucose, that provides 36 to 38 ATP. So fat is a very rich source of energy, and we're able to produce a lot of ATP from it. This is the energy that's used for prolonged low-intensity activities that take place for greater than 20 minutes. So again, it's not a quick source of energy, but we can have it providing energy for a long period of time. We have to have oxygen available, though, for fatty acid oxidation to take place, or beta oxidation. We also have to have glucose available to be able to break down fatty acids. Trained muscles have a greater ability to use fat as energy, and part of that's due to the fact that when we train our bodies, we do increase the number of mitochondria in the cell, at the cellular level, which I think is a really cool thing. They also find out that those mitochondria are bigger, so they think that they're probably more effective and efficient at beta oxidation, because beta oxidation has to take place in that mitochondria. Lastly, I mentioned that we get a small amount of energy from protein. And how does that happen? Well, if you remember that the building blocks to a protein are amino acids. Those amino acid structures, once we cleave off that nitrogen group, the amino acid structure can also enter the Krebs cycle, kind of in an intermediary step, and move forward to create energy. Again, it's not a main source of energy during exercise or activity, but it is utilized many times in endurance types of exercise. It supplies only about 2 to 5% of the body's energy needs, to give you some perspective on that. So let's review a little bit that with each type of activity, and what type of fuel will your body choose? So for brief and maximal intensity activity, and I gave you some more specifics on there if you want to try to get more involved with this information. So something that's less than 30 seconds, but we're using almost 100% VO2 max, phosphocreatine would be the source of fuel, and then anaerobic glycolysis. At rest or low intensity for greater than 20 minutes, and I gave a sample of what VO2 max you might be at in this scenario, we would use 70 to 90% fat for energy. The rest would come from carbohydrate. In moderate intensity activities, this applies usually to an endurance type of event, we would initially use phosphocreatine in anaerobic glycolysis, and then we would move into aerobic glycolysis. After 20 minutes of that moderate intensity workout, we would start utilizing fat for energy. At greater than 1 hour of working out, I gave you kind of a sampling of where your body probably will be going for energy. After about an hour, 60 to 80% of the energy is coming from fat. 15 to 30% would be coming from carbohydrate or glucose, and 10% from protein. So what affects an athlete's fuel usage and their capacity to work out? Diet affects that. So our ability to increase our glycogen stores, how do we maximize that? Well, things like after an endurance training, we need to make sure that we replenish the glycogen stores as much as possible. How do we do that? We need to top off those glycogen stores within 2 hours after that workout to be the most effective and to maximize our body's ability to store glycogen. Look in your textbook, and it does give you a little more detail on that. Also, the timing of our food intake throughout the day can make a difference in this. Carbohydrate loading is one of the strategies, and that also is outlined pretty nicely in this textbook, but I'll also give you another reference at the end of this lecture. Remember, some of the training adaptations are increase in capillaries, which increases the oxygen delivery in the body, increase in enzymes that are available for aerobic metabolism, so we also have more mitochondria available. So we're going to increase the body's ability to keep fuel and energy broken down and available during exercise. We also probably establish some pain tolerance to that lactic acid is what they found out as an athlete gets more trained. Altitude, gender, genetics, and drugs also can affect how the athlete uses certain types of fuel. So what would be an optimum nutrient intake for an athlete? I have a little profile for you here, and you can notice that carbohydrate really is the foundation. Much to most people's maybe disappointment, a lot of people really like to think protein's the paramount nutrient, and it's not. Carbohydrate is what feeds our muscles. Protein is what rebuilds our muscles. So we need to have adequate protein, but protein by far is not the nutrient your body is using during a workout. Your body is using carbohydrate. After that workout, post-workout, when you've broken down that muscle tissue because you've trained so hard, when those muscles are rebuilding, it needs to have adequate protein available to rebuild. And I have some figures there. 1.2 to 1.6 grams for every kilogram of body weight for endurance athletes, or if you're a weightlifter, 1.6 to 1.7 grams per kilogram body weight would be a target intake. Keep in mind though, most Americans are already getting about 2 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight in a regular diet. So it's kind of a fallacy that once we start working out we need to start increasing our protein intake, because most of us are already getting more than the recommended amount. So eating for performance, some of you may be more involved as an athlete and interested in this area, and this is a general nutrition class, so we don't spend a whole lot of time on it, but we touch on it, and I'm going to give you a few references here as well. Carbohydrate loading, I feel the reference in your text is completely appropriate, and you may want to look for more details and other references, but the table that they give on page 378 does give a nice outline on some strategies to carbohydrate loading. Hydration schedule for physical activity. Believe it or not, this is one of the bigger components that gets overlooked. I don't think most athletes, us marathon runners, pay enough attention or give enough credit to the need for appropriate hydration. And it can be a very involved process to calculate out and be on top of what your hydration should be for any given event. It's also something you need to train with. You need to train with the hydration schedule that you have planned for your actual event, 2 and 3 months prior, so that you can see how are you going to tolerate that much fluid intake, and how do you need to adjust it to maximize your performance. Water is the best replenishment fluid for activities that are up to 45 minutes long. There's no need for an electrolyte replacement when you're only working out for up to 45 minutes. When your workout goes beyond that, then a sports drink does have a place. We need to get some glucose probably in and some electrolytes. You want to look for a sports drink that has less than 8% carbohydrate solution. Most of them are already formulated that way, but be cautioned or forewarned that some of the general brand names like Gatorade are not necessarily designed for your true athlete. Some of those have a thicker mouthfeel. They're made more to please the general public who might be soda drinkers. Some of the better sports drinks you might want to just kind of experiment around. There is a drink called Endurance, I think it's actually made by Power Bar, and there's several choices out there. Some of them are a little lighter, not as thick and gummy as Gatorade. Make sure you're eating familiar foods for an event and low fiber. The main thing is to plan and practice your strategy. So when it comes to carbohydrate intake, hydration, however you're going to do your fluids, plan it, schedule it, put it into your training routine at least for a month prior to the event, so that you feel confident on that day exactly what your body needs to maximize your performance. For further reading on the topic, I find Monique Ryan's book on sports nutrition a pretty good reference of all the different books that I've used for my personal benefit. So you can take a look at that book if you have further interest in sports